Moving on, as mobile smartphone penetration in Kenya and Africa expands, mobile phone manufacturers are building devices that catch the eye to maintain consumer loyalty to brands. Transition Holdings, the manufacturer of Techno Mobile, says today's mobile phone consumers look out for quality and affordability before purchasing smartphones. But is the company making any headway in the market? KTN's Joy Bira spoke to the Vice President and now reports.
With mobile-enabled services on the rise in Kenya, demand for smartphones has risen, with Kenya now ranking third in Africa among the top countries with most smartphone penetration. A recent report by global technology consulting firm International Data Corporation put the number of smartphone shipments at 155 million units at the end of 2015 in the Middle East and Africa. One of the more recent entrants into this market is Techno brand. From the beginning, the brand has focused on the lower affordable end of the market, and this focus has enabled it fast ascend to the top 3 brands in Africa. In the smartphone world, Techno is regarded as the #1 disruptive brand in the market, giving Samsung and Apple, which are the most popular brands, a run for their money. Being only 10 years old in the market, Techno is now looking into growing its market share in the Middle East. Reason: the global launch for the latest series Phantom 6 and 6 Plus took place in Dubai.
So many apps and softwares you can work on the product side, so that's why it's also become quite easy for you. It's not really to say this music series, but you really have the capacity and the infrastructure ecosystem support to make it to go through that series. So it only depends on that what is your market, and based on the market what segment really you want to create. So now,
with a growing number of applications being developed for both Android and iOS, consumers are spoiled for choice on smartphone functionality. Today's consumers, most of them millennials, are looking for affordability, quality, speed, but also flexibility on device performance. Low-cost smartphones and affordable mobile brand packages are bringing more and more people online in Africa, opening up a new market for m-commerce, mobile marketing and apps.
See that the way Techno Mobile has been pricing, because we have been more focusing on Africa business, and so I think when you talk about business in Africa, same time you need to deliver which will really match the GDP per capita, the average monthly income of the consumer. Otherwise, if you just talk and that okay, I care about Africa, then the phone price is $800. It will not make sense. So for us, is still, I think, to reach more customers, to satisfy more users, it always comes, I think, at the first hand.
With a market share of 20% in over 20 African countries, to act as a springboard, the Middle East is now the next frontier for mobile device manufacturers like Techno, with a continued focus on the business consumer and youthful population. Joy Bira, KTN News.
Many thanks, Joy, for that report. And actually, just to give you a quick recap of our Twitter poll question, today we are asking, has mobile phone penetration played a role in lowering prices for smartphones in Kenya? Has mobile phone penetration played a role in lowering prices for smartphones in Kenya? Do send us in your tweets on at KTN News, or you can tweet me at Agina Aby as we move along with this broadcast. And right now, we want to get into an interesting conversation on matters to do with technology, and I'll be speaking about the role of the CTO. And I'm joined live in studio by Harry Hare, who is the CEO for CIO, and he'll be telling us more about trends in the ICT world. Thanks, Harry, for making time.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, the other time you were here, we weren't able to get to you, but at least today, all is well.
Yes. There was breaking news, yeah?
I know. And I mean, technology is also associated with that, where we don't know what's happening tomorrow. Everyone is trying to research, everyone is trying to roll out new products in the market. Let's kick off the conversation from what are your thoughts actually on that question we are putting to our viewers today? Has mobile phone penetration led to the lowering of prices for smartphones? What's your view?
I think it has, because you see, if you look at just say 3-4 years ago, smartphones were only for a certain class of people.
Yeah.
Because smartphones were expensive, and you'll have only probably Samsung, Apple, and at some point, HP also had some interesting iPhones. I used to have an iPad, which I used to love at that time. But that has changed, and you're seeing that the entry level of smartphones, the pricing for entry level smartphones has come tremendously low. And you're finding that the so-called feature phones are now almost disappearing.
Yeah.
Because almost everybody can actually afford a smartphone. So I think there's I would argue that it has made those available.
Of course, the government also did put a duty, actually VAT, on imported phones. Many foresaw this would have an impact on the markets. I don't know, from where you see it, how did this play out?
I think you see, people buy things because of need, and sometimes also usability. So I was one of the people who were very worried that, hey, we are going to erode some of the gains that we had achieved by actually removing duties on mobile phones and other IT products. But actually, to the reverse, we've seen a surge in terms of people actually buying those things. But it shows how important these things are now to people.
Okay.
Yeah. So people require them, people need them to do their business, to do their communication, and therefore they will spend some money on them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It appears phones are becoming a basic need.
It is, yeah.
As well as internet.
Correct.
So, Harry, that aside, of course, you're here now to talk matters to do with the role of the CTO in organizations.
Actually, CIO.
CIO,
yeah.
beg your pardon. Perhaps let's just kick off with what your entity deals in.
So we write for the CIO. So what we do is we collect information, curate information, and deliver this in different ways to the CIO, mainly to help them decipher the whole space of technology in terms of what is the latest trend, what are the latest technologies that are coming out, how are people using technology to improve on their businesses, how do businesses adopt technology, how do they implement projects within different organizations. So we curate all that information and make it available to CIOs.
Right.
And this is in different platforms, online, print, and also events. Yeah.
Of course, for the benefit of our viewers, who is a CIO and what really is their role in a company?
The CIO is, we call the CIO is the Chief Information Officer. And normally the easiest way I describe the CIO is, I say is a guy or a girl who has a split mind. One mind speaks tech and the other mind speaks business.
All right.
So it's somebody who will be able to stay in both worlds very comfortably. And therefore, when they come into an organization, they are able to look at what the organization is doing and what technology solutions and products are available in the market, then come up with a way in which can advise the company to adopt a technology that will be able to give them what they're looking for in terms of the bottom line for the company.
Okay.
Yeah.
And speaking about the CIOs, a number of companies, the blue chip ones, have considered this position being a critical position to have key resource people in organizations.
Yeah.
And perhaps if you have data, just share with us, how are we doing as a country in terms of the number of CIOs in the market? Are we seeing a gradual progression where more people are getting on board, or it's just a stagnated kind of curve?
No, there's been a major improvement. When I started doing work around the CIO space, we had like five CIOs in the region, in East Africa. That's Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and Rwanda. we had only 5 CIOs or
Wow.
people with a designation CIO. Right now, we are talking not less than 500 CIOs across the region. And these are people who are at a very high level in the business. In some companies, these are guys who actually sit in the board. And that is one of the things that we've been trying to do, to push the recognition of the CIO as a key resource within an organization, similar to the CFO, similar to the chief marketing officer or the chief resource officer.
All right.
So we were saying if your business requires to have technology in it, you need to have the CIO in the board. Yeah.
Perhaps talk to us about the impact of companies having a CIO from the position of formulation of strategies, ensuring best practice by the company, and also talk to us, what's the future like for CIOs in Africa?
Probably I'll just do a backup on that, because if you look at businesses today, look at a media company like yours, everything here is tech, right?
Yeah.
Everything that you touch, everything that you do is based on the technology.
System-based.
Yes, it's system-based, it's based on a certain technology, and this cuts across the entire economy. So you find that it's for you to be able to utilize or to adopt a certain technology to benefit the organization, or to give you an edge over your competition, or to bring in efficiency, to bring in productivity within the organization, you need to apply appropriate technology.
Yeah.
And that's where now the strategic use of technology comes in. And if you're speaking strategic use of technology, then you need somebody who understands your business requirements and your technology requirements. And that's where now the CIO plays. This is where the CIO hangs around, where you're now looking at business imperatives within an organization and matching them with the technologies that are available.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. And Harry, looking at this new role in the market, perhaps as a company, you also do CIO100.
Yeah.
And what has been the progress so far? What has been the impact on the ground?
So CIO100, why we actually decided to do CIO100 was to bring in some level of competitiveness among the CIOs. So we do a whole 3-month survey on what organizations, what CIOs are working on, what projects they're carrying. And we look at, okay, so you've decided to take on an ERP project, for instance. What was the pain point? Why were you thinking ERP in the first place? How much did you spend on that ERP? What is your return on investment on that ERP? What were the challenges that you went through while deploying or implementing that ERP? Okay. Then we capture that information, and we have a benchmark process where we look at, we sort of jig it and get the most innovative companies. And it doesn't mean that if you spend $1 million and somebody else spends 100,000 shillings that you will come on top.
Yeah.
No, it's how innovative are you in the use of technology to address the pain point of the business.
All right.
Yeah. So that's what we've been doing, and we've seen companies coming up with amazing ways in which they're using their technology, and at the end of the day, because we always say you use technology for the benefit of either it's a business or it's a government, the impact on the citizen. If it's a business, it's a profitability or increase in terms of your company's growth. Okay. So it's not technology for technology's sake, but it's technology for something. Yeah.
And speaking about technology, draw for us a picture in terms of how has ICT spending been like in the past, let's say, 5 years? Are we seeing increased spending? Of course, ICT units used to be regarded as cost centers. Yeah. And they would be the first casualties if a company is downsizing. They just say we just needed the top ICT manager, the rest of the guys we can outsource. How is the spending component?
So it's very interesting because you see, the way people consume technology has also changed. I don't know if you remember, but people used to buy software in discs.
Oh yes.
And CDs. That's long gone.
Yeah.
And
floppy disks.
Yes, and floppy disks. So that's long gone. So the expenditure in technology has increased because businesses have become more sophisticated and they want to do sophisticated things with technology.
All right.
They are running more tech in different functions of their businesses. However, if you look at some of the trends in technology, like cloud computing, for instance, it has lowered the barrier for entry in terms of utilization of that technology. So you don't have to have servers
located in your basement.
Located in your basement, or buying expensive servers. You don't have to do that anymore. You can run some of these applications on the cloud.
All right.
So the consumption has sort of brought down the cost, but because people are now more sophisticated and they want to do more things, you find that the budgets have also increased.
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting thing that is happening.
And Harry, as you wrap it up, what's the future like for ICT in Africa now that, like you said, there's a more keen interest in companies going the tech way? Perhaps what would be your closing remarks around the future, as well as what technologies can companies look forward to?
I think the future, I always say this, the future is bright for tech. Because you see, we're moving into driverless cars, we're moving into robotics in the house, and Internet of Things in the house, or even in workplaces. So the future is bright.
Okay.
What I would want to say is I would want people to actually come and see some of the things that are happening around the ICT and around what the CIOs are doing at our CIO100 event, which is coming up in November.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.